Welcome, everyone, and welcome to my show today, Alien's Joy. I am very grateful to see you. Thank you for being here. I am happy, and I have an amazing guest today. I'm happy to see you here on this interactive platform. We are the #1 interactive platform worldwide. Welcome to winwinwomen.tv. And of course, I can also greet you on Roku, Amazon, Fire, Apple TV. So I hope you're watching today. If not, watch the replay. I'm very grateful to have you and have an amazing guest on today. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happens when you are in front of an audience. It is just the #1 thing that we are very scared of, right? Public speaking, having to share our story, having to share some details, or even just sometimes in business, how to get better at it and really use a story. I have, a couple of years ago, I wrote a book and I became more and more a speaker, right? I was invited to speak about the book and say a few things. And I remember that I, at that point, finally could share my story. And it was also an autobiography, but I could ramble for hours. And I didn't know there was actually a technique and a method to speaking. And one of the things that we as business owners do as well a lot is that we do not really know how to value ourselves and how to put value and put speaking or use speaking in business, right? And how to do that correctly. And so I became 2 years ago involved with a sales trainer, now my mentor. And through that, I met amazing Terilee Harrison. And Terilee is a distinguished professional in the realm of speaking. She wrote many, many books. She's an author. And she's great at business development and helping you through speaking, do a little business. And I really became better at that, working with Miss Terilee and also just doing and using methods, right, to become better at sales. So Terilee is also the public speaking division, leads the public speaking division of Eric Lofholm International. It's a global sales training company. And I've learned many, many things. Terilee coaches and trains speakers to grow their business and maximize your message worldwide. And currently, which I'm very happy about, Terilee resides in Arlington, Texas, closer to me, and influences globally speakers touching the life of professionals and seeking to enhance their public speaking skills and make a lasting impact. Welcome. I was all over the place with your biography and I'm not done. You have also written several books that we're going to touch on. Welcome, Terilee Harrison, to the show today. I'm so glad to have you.
It is a blessing to be here with you. Thank you for having me. I want to acknowledge you that you're in like season 3. You've really been diligent about your show, and it's such an honor to be here, Elian. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you are my friend. You are my speaker coach. I have learned so much working with you. And first, I want to ask you this first question that I always ask everybody. Who is Terilee?
You said all those things about me, but when it comes to who I am, I am a wife and a mom and a grandma and a daughter, a sister, right? Someone who loves serving in my community.
Yes.
Someone who's passionate about story and helping people be authentic with their story. I think if there's anything I'm passionate about, is that every story matters, and helping people realize that and helping people share their story. So there's all the things we could talk about, the books and the speaking and all those, but those are some of the I'm a woman of faith. Those are some of the things I would want people to know.
And I love that because that's the first thing. I always go into the personal a little bit. You are a woman of faith. You have traveled extensively with your husband, also in ministry, right, all over the world. And one of the things that struck me getting to know you is that you have been so involved in teamwork and with business women and connecting women globally. And doing even a radio show I read in the past, right? A platform for women and for business. So when I say your story, I would love to share to have you share your story a little bit. For me, and this is the difficult part, and we're going straight into that. It was a little bit easier to write it down and even be personal with my story and write that down than talking about it, right? And so when we did training, and we're not going to give all the nuggets away, of course, but I know and I learned through you that there's a method, right? There's a training to
Yeah.
speaking to really extend your message. But that story is very important. And so I want to ask you first, where did that come from with you? And what was your life experience that became your passion and your why?
The interesting thing about me wanting to encourage people to tell their story, Elian, is that I never told people my story, right? My story was a big fat secret I'm 57 now, and my story was a big fat secret for 30 years, from like the age of 12 to the age of 42. And I didn't even know I had a story, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know I had one. I was just walking through life. And I'm going to say, I used this phrase recently. I was walking wounded. Like, you looked at me and I looked like I somewhat had it together, somewhat, right? But I was walking just with no self-worth, no confidence, thinking I wasn't good enough and it wasn't okay to be me, right? Thinking in my case, Elian, that at the age of 12, through circumstances with my health, I took on that I was different than all other girls. Okay, so let that sink in for just a moment. All other girls. So pretty much like, it's so not okay to be me, right?
Right.
And the reason I'll just say this, people are like, what does that mean? So I have a condition where I have an underdeveloped reproductive tract. So while everything in my life, and I'll just say on the outside, looks normal, like I was born with an underdeveloped uterus and reproductive system, and I was born without a vagina. And so at 12, I don't remember a meeting, Elian, with my parents where they said you shouldn't tell anyone, but yet I think there was a meeting. I think there was a meeting
Yeah.
where like my best friend didn't know when I was in sixth grade, and nobody knew. My parents, I think they had the right idea, but they didn't want people making fun of me. And but yet, what did that take on? That took on a life of shame, and all kinds of stuff came in my life, from feeling unlovable, unworthy, just it went from,
Just
and it
those
all
limiting
went bad
beliefs.
from worse. When we stuff the bad things inside, eventually it seeps out. And I know in your work, that you've seen this, and helped many people through that, but it starts seeping out in all kinds of ways.
Yeah.
And so in my life, I looked good on the outside, but felt unlovable. And then I started attracting all the wrong men. And
Yeah.
that then things just went bad from bad to worse. So I know that you're going to ask me about it, but I ended up, you know,
Writing it down.
getting real about my situation. I ended up eventually telling my story. So it's so interesting when you talk about, it was easier for you to write your book than speak it at first. And I think it can be, it's
Mhm.
very cathartic to tell your story, isn't it?
Yeah.
What I can tell you that I've learned, that I want your listeners to know, you've heard me say, it's that every time you tell your story, it's healing to you and healing to others. Every time you tell your story, it's healing to you and healing to others, and it only gets easier, and easier, and it only makes a bigger and bigger impact the more we share.
I love that and thank you for sharing. I love that you said that, because I think, and this show is for women, right? And to help women. And that's always what I would love to do. But it's so interesting that that's indeed the case. We just kind of like, first you shared something that is very profound, but definitely so for women. I mean, teenagers,
Mm.
right? And all we want to do when we're young is, get married and have a family and all that. And I mean, still, I mean, even if we're from the 60s, 70s, 80s, like a while ago, right?
Yeah.
But still, we are just in those days, we were all about just, feeling good in your 20s and just getting ready to live life according to the standards and the expectations there. And just the female stuff that we go through in our teenager years and 20s are so difficult. So thank you for sharing that. I can understand that just kind of holds you back not to share that for a long time. And another thing that we're really good at as women is just to really be okay on the outside. I was as well with my teas, right? With my trauma, and just kind of like shine and just keep going and nobody seems to see that there's so many limiting beliefs and so much pain underneath. And women are really good at
Mm-hmm.
it. And the beauty of it is if we get older and then we start sharing that a little bit, you are right. I think when we are starting to write that down, it's good. It's healing. And I always use journaling as well as a healing tool, right? But there is so much more to speaking and saying it. So that, I love that. What is that one specific moment? So you wrote your book, you wrote this whole story down, you had already written another book, and there was many more to come, but those are more towards business. Where did you feel that that transition in your story kind of started moving into business? You were very big on bringing women all over the world together and also constantly sharing the strength of women, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And teamwork, networking. So
Yep.
networking became so important to you as well. What
Yep.
was the importance there?
You know, the interesting thing about networking is I really didn't know anything about it until I like got thrown into it. And I started networking and I was living in the greater Los Angeles area. And so I went to go like meet people. I knew I needed to network. I was told I needed to network and I didn't realize that it wasn't that special. But like I met someone and we said, hey, could you have meetings closer to like where I lived? And they go, no, but you could. Like, I didn't realize that, of course, everyone's going to say that. And of course, they're looking for people to expand their networking. But that was in like 2006. And that was the beginning. That was
Yeah.
the beginning of me having business networking be like my main thing that I focused on. And out of it came the speaking and then the books. And I want to say, you want to talk about globally. Sometimes now I still want to pinch myself. And that's that I did so much networking locally, and I believe in serving our local community. Like I want to encourage everyone to do so, no matter where you live. But I never imagined, I'm a small town girl from Ohio, right? I never imagined like, and this is pre-COVID also, but so I was living in Singapore where my husband was on an assignment there for 5 years. And so I was like plucked away from my people in California where I was networking in person. And so I took things online and Elion, like the power of knowing that people in the US wanted to be connected with the UK and the Canadians wanted to meet people from the US and the people in Australia, they want those connections, all those connections too, right? And so here I was helping people do that, bringing them together. And it's extraordinary when you think about it. It's extraordinary when you think about it. I'm so grateful. We majorly grew that during COVID. And then and people are still networking online in my own life. This is when I really began going into speaking coaching. I took off in a bit of another direction, but I still have that global network and still at any time could be reaching out to people anywhere. And this is what I've learned is that people are pretty much the same everywhere. People are pretty much the same everywhere. Mm-hmm.
We're all looking for the same.
We're
Yes.
all looking for the
Same
same.
basic needs. Yes. And then one of that is what we're doing here, right? Is constantly care and connect and collaborate. That's,
Yes.
the big theme of the shows, behind the shows with other women. And that is so powerful. But you were really at the start of that networking because I remember late 1900s, 1996, 7.
Mm-hmm.
I did some business networking international group,
Uh-huh.
very local, right? But it was so big. And we just always, of course, that was all done in person. That was all before Zoom. You connected people internationally already before we were all Zooming the whole day, right?
Yep.
Before we all had this tool to connect with everybody, because this
Yeah.
is, of course, amazing that now we can do that. And I even remember being kind of sort of anti-Zoom in the beginning because I like to see you and smell you and feel you,
Yeah.
right? Do the audience kind of thing. But this is really fun because we can go everywhere. We can really go everywhere. And you were really at the beginning of that. Why
Mm-hmm.
is it
I
so?
can, and listen, I can tell you, well, we dabbled in it 6, 7 years before COVID. Okay. I can't claim credit. Okay. I had a man come into my life through networking. His name was James Fierce. I love that last name, Fierce. Okay.
Yeah,
And James, he could see networking in the virtual world. He could see it. He knew. And then we had Google Hangouts. So you could only have 10 or less. So you couldn't like bring a huge group of people
yes,
together.
yes, yes.
But we test piloted it for a year and it fizzled. But so it was when I went back to Singapore, I said, I want to try that again. But I can tell you that pre-COVID, Elion, people said, I don't think I could network on screen. Everyone's like, they didn't want to do it. They didn't, but then when we were forced to do it, we found out it could work. And I have to say, I believe there's a place for both. And just like, so we said, I've recently moved, I'm closer to you now. So I have my cute home office and it's only going to get cuter. It's a work in progress, but yet I'm looking for that place at a co-working space where I can have a space for public too, to host events, a place, I think there's room for both.
Yeah.
I think there's room for
Yeah.
both. There's nothing like walking into your home office, right? Opening your laptop and doing a podcast, doing an amazing show with Eliane's Joy, or just going to talk to a client, right? It's amazing when you don't have to drive and commute.
Yes, that takes a lot of the gas money out of there, right?
Yes, all of
But
it, the
it's still
energy.
very much fun to connect in person and we have done that together and to go to events and things like that. So I love that as well. Now we're going to a little bit into the business, right? The entrepreneur side of it. Why is it so important for me to become better as a speaker? And what I didn't have, right, was a big word, a call to action, trying to drive people to what I do and sell myself, my services, of course, through that speaking. Why was that so important? Because I knew that there was something like a 1 minute, 3 minutes elevator speech, right? Or
Yeah,
pitch. But
yeah.
how do I take that a little bit further? And why was that so important? And how do you help people there now? Because that's so big on what you do right now.
Thank you for that. Part of teaching public speaking inside of a sales training company is there is this like important glue, right? So what you're saying is, and it's true, a lot of people speak, but they don't know how to benefit from it. When I first came to speaking, so I was working on my story, I was going to tell my story, and I thought, I'm going to sell this book. Like, I'm going to speak and sell my story and sell this book. And for me at that point, it was all there was. This is like 2013, maybe. And so, Eliane, do you know how many books you got to sell to make your house payment every month? It's a
I
lot of
know
books.
that's
It's
my
a lot of
problem.
books now. Okay. It's a lot
Yeah,
of books. You know that. I have to tell you, but for some of your listeners too. And
yeah.
so then they're like, well, you need to coach. I'm like, coach? Who said I was going to coach on this stuff, man? Right. And help people overcome their shame. I'm like, whoa, I need certifications and I need all these things. But there's a business to speaking.
Yeah.
There is everything from maybe even getting the book done, because the book is an integral piece. Maybe you want to have a course, but you definitely want to at least learn how to grab the contact information of those that are interested in speaking
Yeah.
to you at a minimum, right? You want to, if you're someone, Eliane is this most amazing coach, ladies, and I hope that I'm sure that those of you who follow her, that. But yes, as a coach, we want to offer up opportunities for people that are interested in coaching with us to maybe interview with us. Sometimes we're going to have a product that's easy for them to go in, and for a low fee, they're going to really quick enter their credit card and get our ebook or our course. But sometimes they want to interview for something, and being able to naturally segue into that and to make an offer, getting the contact information. Yes, I don't want to say there's a method for the madness, but there's a strategy for success. And this is what is so important. There are people who can wing it, and Eliane, you are so talented. I think that you could give a testimony to this, that you could go in and wing it and everyone loved you and you loved them. But the question is like, what results are we looking for? And when we're strategic, that's exactly when we're going to
Absolutely.
begin to get the results we're looking for. I had to learn all this too.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that, because that was exactly me. And thank you for the compliment. But yes, I had a book idea and I was already speaking on fitness and wellness everywhere, but I could speak for hours. But my book sold for $6 that month, right? Or I
Yes,
made $6. So
yes,
we didn't know really where to grab the audience,
yes,
right? Except for entertaining or educating, right?
yes.
Edutaining, as Tony calls that. But it's like this thing of doing all this fun stuff but not having any results and driving people to
Mhm.
your business. And that's why I am so glad that I worked with you, and it's made so much sense to have that group, to have that connection. We have a great networking business in place, right? With several people. We do events now. We are stepping up to the plate. And there was so much limiting belief. What was for you, for instance, one of these challenges that you ran into when you said, okay, I'm going to make this speaking business? I wrote my books, right? And then you had another couple of business books, actually more on networking and speaking.
Yeah.
What was a triumph and what was your challenge there?
Mm.
Or first maybe a challenge and maybe the triumph after.
I think the challenge is figuring out where you can speak, where can you speak, getting those speeches booked, and we use the phrase at Lofholm International. We talk about getting the reps in, and like you build your muscle, right? Just going and getting those first talks done was critical for me. But I'm going to tell you, I'd love to share a triumph because I want every woman that wants to speak to be able to have a moment like this.
Yes.
And it's when you know that you are resonating with other women or other people. And so there was a conference I did. I had 2 cases of books and with me, just selling the books, right?
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, like
We're always walking around with a
the
box.
one thing, it always coming home with more books. But the thing is the conference was, the theme was I am enough. And so it wasn't like I was the only one talking about that. It was that I was like a day and a half in of the 2-day conference. And so they've been marinating in the I am enough theme, the women, right? But then when I told my story, Elia, you know how like after, and some of you been at conferences like this, like after you speak, there's a short break and people come and get your thing and then they go back. They didn't quit coming. They kept coming and coming for books and coming for books and coming for books. And I didn't take any books home.
Yeah.
It's when you know that your message matters, you believe it matters, but when you have that type of response and when you know that people get you, what does that do? It helps you know that even if you're going to share some hard stuff, because I want to encourage everyone that if you have hard stuff and you're not sharing it yet, I want to encourage you to give it a try. It's when you really make an impact, right? It's when you're willing to go deeper than everybody else and share. That was what made a difference for me. And I say there's so many things I could teach. So Eliane, you could have had me on and we could have talked about how do you do a podcast? You could have had me on, we could have talked about how do you write a book? We could have talked about, how do you book a speaking engagement? But if we don't get to the heart of the matter and you don't walk away like with something of like a core memory or something you learned from me, then yeah, you're just going to forget who I am, but you're not going to forget what I was telling you in the beginning. Are you? You're not, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And that is so important that we just come to that core, and I'm starting to understand that more and more. And actually, I remember in the past that I had some of these moments, especially in the fitness industry. And when I talked a lot about exercise, how important it is for people I was working with people with substance abuse, right?
Yeah.
And people would come afterwards to me and say, oh my gosh, my son or my daughter is an addict, or
Mhm.
and I can't believe that you can do so much through yoga and meditation, right?
Yeah.
And that made so much impact, and that's when I really decided to write as well, and write about my story and my past with addiction in our family. That's made I lost my parents through it, right? And
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. In the beginning, you kind of think, and as women, I think also we have kind of these limiting beliefs that it's not interesting enough,
Yeah.
or that everybody goes through a divorce, or everybody goes through a move, right, to another country, or everybody has that time of being lonely. But still, because we all have had it, we resonate so much better if we share it, and it's so much easier to share it for others as well if you go through the same. And
Yeah.
for me, it was thinking that if other people go through the same, my story is not important enough. And I think a lot of people think that. Exactly. Right. So yeah, we've all been there, we've all gone through it, that kind of thing. So mine is not important enough. Instead of understanding now, and also through what you say, if we share it, then even if it was the same, that makes you stronger and that makes people come to you if it was the same experience. So that's why we have to share it. And I love to share this today because I'm going to work with a couple of women, a lot of women actually, that now, yes, we can share on how to speak or how to write or how to do a book or how to publish it even, or how to get a TV show. But sharing this story, I'm encouraging them to watch today and to share their story because that's going to be really important when I start working with them.
That's
Live
right.
events. Yes, absolutely. Yes. So how can we find you now? You have this is a great empire that you work with. There is the speaker training. Tell me a little bit about social media and everything that you're doing now, the events, the live things, the Facebook things that you put out there, and how can people find you to work with you?
My name, if you, and I'm gonna want you to all see. So just as my name is spelled here on the screen, so Terilee Harrison, if you go to terileeharrison.com, you can find some information on me. It's kind of like my Linktree page, if you will. And I just really believe in the importance of being out there on social media. Elion, you model this so well. I think that there are
Thank you.
people that are looking for you, that that's how they're going to find you. And if you have days, if you're a speaker or wanting to speak, there's really lots of days we aren't out on the in-person stage, but you know what? There's a stage right here. There's a stage right here. We have everything we need to get a message out to the masses. And so I am super big right now on being real, helping to talk to people about their story.
Yeah.
And also I want you to really just take in this concept. Like right now I'm doing one video a week, and we're coming up with 7 to 10 days worth of content just based on the subject of one video. Like, I don't want you to think, oh my gosh, I'm going to run out of things to say. You don't have to. You don't have to. There's amazing programs out there to help you dissect what you're saying. And I just want to encourage everyone to be the real you is the best you. Be yourself. Show up as who you are. I promise you're going to attract. There's people looking for you. I say I'm looking for the people looking for me, and I really believe when we will show up and shining for all we are, that we will get all the business that we can stand. I think that that's when you show up in your power. The Supergirl cape is not. I haven't always had a cape, right? But right. I mean, think about the days when I felt like I was junk. You think I had a cape then? Heck no, I was walking around kind of like holding kryptonite in my pocket and not realizing it, if you will, right? But no, show up as and shine as your true self. There's freedom in being comfortable in your own skin. And the right people, they're going to say, oh my gosh, I want her to be my person. I want her to be my coach. She's someone that I want to be my mentor.
And I love that so much that you said that because that was really for me, really just a big piece of energy, empowering to me, and just really more initiative to look broader, right? And not just in your backyard, but to really be out there for the people that are looking for me. I've learned that from you, and I love that sentence so much. I am here for the people that are looking for me because it is, we're also very much women do that also more than men, and it kind of maybe easier pick up the phone and do some cold calling or something. I'm not sure if this is a women thing. Not good, that doesn't go for everybody, but I have always felt that we are immediately going back to our family, right? Our immediate friends and circles out there that are resonating with us, and yes, they're around us and we want them to do more for us, but we really need to step it out there in the broader world and in the big world. One thing that I've enjoyed so much working with you and being together is also that we have that network of people around. We're sharing so many ideas in exactly what you're saying, in that sense of, oh, we're running out of topics, but what do I have? Right? But if we're sharing it and if we're networking again, and if we're sharing it with others, then I come up with all kind of topics that I can talk about because other people tell me as well that, yes, Eliane, you can talk about that. Or yes, Terilee, you have all that and you have this and you have that. So there's so much more to us. So that's one of the things why I encourage people to work with you and be there with you and be in this networking system that we are creating and being out there. So when people are looking for you, terileeharrison.com, and there's a lot of information. We have special speaking groups on Facebook. You are leading and setting that up, and special training, lots of information, lots of courses, lots of webinars. And tell me a little bit about the last thing about your habits to keep that work-life balance, because I know that you're doing a lot of work. And sometimes for both of us, I know that last year we did 60 plus hours sometimes a week. And
Sometimes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that is a super good point. And my new move has brought new responsibilities in my life, if you will. And so some of you may relate to some of this. And so for me, for 18 months until my move, I was just, wife, mom, grandma, self-employed person, but now my husband's a minister, and so I'm taking on the whole minister's wife role, if you will. Well, that's a whole other thing. Talk about work-life balance,
Sure.
but you can be as well, it's as big or small as you want it to be, but we get up early. And sometimes I'm in bed with my coffee, not camera ready, doing some things in the morning, but that doesn't mean that I work, till 9 o'clock at night like that. I allow myself the freedom, because it's part of my joy and the balance is if I went yesterday and volunteered with this nonprofit with the fourth graders for 90 minutes, right? Right.
Yeah.
Like that was so fun meeting my fourth grader.
Yes.
But just allowing myself the freedom to, yeah, I might start early, but if I need that time in the middle of the day, or tomorrow I'm heading down to see my granddaughters for a couple days, and like just knowing what it takes. Or you may love this, Eliana, you might laugh, but so finding new doctors. How many of you, when you move, you need new doctors? And
Yeah.
so my insurance isn't that popular. They didn't tell me that. They said that they take it here, but they didn't tell me it wasn't popular, right? So I need a specialist, and they said, we only have 4 specialists in all of Texas that take it this insurance.
No.
And so if I'm in Dallas area, right, 2 of them are in San Antonio, one's in Cypress, and one is in Houston. I said, it's not such and such, is it? So Elion, every 2 months I got to see the doctor, and it's going to be like right with my granddaughter. So that's fine with me.
That's
Like,
perfect. Yeah.
create the balance, create your life, create your situation. Yeah, would I like to have a specialist 10 minutes from my house? Sure, but this is just as good for me. This works
Yeah.
for me. Some people wouldn't like it, but I'm great with it.
Yes. Yeah. That's a great example of how we have to guide our lives a little bit into what works for us, even if we don't like it. Right. Even if it's one of the things that
Oh,
we
I'm
don't
gonna find a way to like
can
this
be
one.
thrown. Yeah. Well, yes, definitely with the grandkids. Absolutely. But yes, and I have learned, and I talk about that a lot, of course, in coaching, on how we can create a lot of things around us that work
We
for us
can, we
instead of
can.
just wait
I,
for life
I,
to happen.
what I would feel called to say is also, so I mentioned the doctor. So I do have a a chronic blood cancer, and I don't wake up every day going, you got cancer, man. I don't do that. Try to focus on how good I feel, but also there are a lot of people that have different things going on. And I used to, in the beginning, when I was diagnosed, man, I would like sleep every afternoon, and sometimes for 3 hours, right? Like my body was like working on healing as best it could. And then I got to a point, Elion, where I would like beat myself up, like, you have to take a nap, and that's a bad thing. No, on the days I need to rest, I do it, and I view it as sacred and good.
Yeah.
And that's why, hey, Matt, got up at 6, I did some things, and yeah, if I need a break, it's okay. And I just wanted to say that because maybe there's someone who needs to hear that it's okay. It's okay if we need rest, and whether that's a little bit of rest in the morning, a little bit of rest at night, maybe that's sleeping in a bit. That's how we keep going. That's how we
Absolutely.
rejuvenate.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yes. And work-life balance with women is a lot that I know around me is women that are like, "Oh, I'm beating myself up. I'm not doing enough. It's not enough. I need to work more. I need to even have more hours." And, not allowing yourself to, I'm one of them, kind of ADHD person, like all over the place. I cannot forgive myself if I sit down for 2 hours and I do nothing, right? And that was
Yeah.
always a little bit of my background. And now, even if and thank you for sharing that, not living in your disease or living in chronic pain or living with something that you have, but trying to make the best of it while forgive yourself for taking time out to embrace that. right?
Yeah.
It's really important to embrace that. And I think a lot of us can do that, or maybe even escape it, or maybe even say, I'm in denial about so many things. So that's what we're here for, to help people to not do that and embrace the time that you need for yourself, and embrace the time to heal, embrace the time to just consider doing nothing for a little bit, that it's
Yep.
okay. I learned that really the hard way. And on the other hand, it's okay if you're self-employed and you can work all hours of the day, even at night or in the early in the morning.
Sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's what it takes is to get the things done is we might actually work more than if we had an 8 to 5, but the only thing is I don't think that we should do that all the time.
Yeah, correct. Yes, correct. Finding a good balance in it. Absolutely. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Thank you so much for this amazing conversation. I'm going to close one more time with saying find Terilee Harrison on terileeharrison.com, www.terileeharrison.com. You are there with everything that you offer and how people can find you. The people that are there, they're going to find you, that are out there. I hope you listen to our replays too. We're going to throw this over social media. Listen to this episode. It is so super important. What is your last thing that you want to give, your last little quote that you want to give the audience today?
This ties into everything I learned when I came out and told my story, and it's the greatest gift you can give yourself is to allow others to love you for who you really are. The greatest gift you can give yourself is to allow others to love you for who you really are. I think we just don't ever give them a chance, or at least I know I wouldn't give people a chance.
I love that so much. You know, I love you. Thank you
Love you
so much
too.
for being an amazing and special guest today.
Thank
I love it. Thank you. And thank you for audience watching today, Allianz Joy. I hope you have a great afternoon or morning or evening or sleep wherever you are in the world. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week. Thank you for watching Allianz Joy. Namaste. Make it a great day. Bye-bye.